open the egg, like use these fingers to open the egg up, and that'll allow it to fall out. Do it so that they can see, and then drop that inside. And it's like cheers. You get this moment, cheers. And then you take your little bow or whatever, and that's your applause point. So there's the silk twig. Sometimes, by the way, I'll give that to the kid and say, there you go, kid, some protein or whatever. Don't drink that. It's sort of like a little joke. But last night I just put it back in my case. But yeah, so that's the silk twig moment. It is such a nice, it's such a nice visual moment. Again, visually arresting. And again, that thing of if someone's taking photographs of your act, this again is a really clear moment that something good's happening. All of the colours and the egg and the thing. So yeah, that's the silk to egg. It is a classic for a reason. Of course, my handling of the routine has so much to thank for the way that Lance Burton did it. I saw that on TV, I don't remember when it was, but I just remember thinking, gosh, that is a great trick. But I worked on it for this Britain's Got Talent thing and added some little handling tips and a slightly different script and some, just a few little changes that have made it suit me. And I recommend that you do the same. My handling, I think, is very clean and easy for the audience to understand. And again, it's punchy. The way I do it is quite quick. I don't mess around or add a billion phases or over-explain or over-prove anything. I just do the tricks nice and cleanly and try and be myself. And I think that works. So it's certainly, in the room last night, the audience liked it. So again, get it in your show and practice away. I wouldn't necessarily recommend one of these glasses, by the way, because they do have a tendency to fall over, although they do look nicer. I used a straight-sided glass last night to cover that moment. And if you are going to do this and put the thing back in your case, I also recommend that you get a drinks holder or maybe like a pot that you would put stationary, like a pen pot. That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, like a pen pot. And put Velcro on the bottom and stick that in your case so that you can put the glass down inside it so that when someone picks up your case to strike it from the stage, it won't fall over, because that's happened to me too. And now I use it looks like a miniature version of a waste paper basket, a metal one, but you just buy it from the stationery store and it's Velcroed inside of my case. So use that too and it'll stop it falling over. A tiny little tip, but it's worth its weight in gold if you don't want to spill an egg over your copy of Modern Magic, which is also sitting in there. So there we go, silk to egg.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful classic of magic and wonderful handling, like you said. And I'm so glad to see this trick in particular is making a comeback among working pros.
Yeah.
I've got a version of it. Eric Tate has a version of it. It's such a great trick, and it's one of those that you can put so much of your personality with, and I think it comes across.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
That's it. I mean, I think that all tricks really are a canvas for us to show who we are. Mm-hmm. And if the audience know more about you at the end of the show than they did at the beginning, then you win. Whether they like the tricks or not, if they know more about you, that's a good thing. And really, my whole thing now is I like a lot of visual moments. Like I said, just try and be yourself. I'm not trying to be overly funny. I like the jokes to be organic. I noticed a thing happened years ago that I used to, my first kind of, that transition into who I feel like I am now. My show used to be that I would come out and I would do like 5 minutes of jokes with no tricks at all, just come out in 5 minutes of jokes. And I used to open my act with the vanishing bottle. And in the bag, the typical thing, oh, it's gone, it's back, close it, squash the bag, the kind of standard routine that most people do. And I would do 5 minutes leading up to that. And then I would do that. And that would be 7 minutes of material, and the audience might love it, they might lose interest, whatever. What happened this one time, I was only doing that in this spot, like I was comparing a show. So I walked out with the two props in my hands, and I did the 5 minutes of jokes, but I was holding the props because I had to, because I didn't have a case. And I found, I just knew instinctively something changed. The audience's interest in the things that I had to say was exponentially increased by holding props in my hands. Because when you're just standing like this and you're talking, nothing's about to happen other than you're about to say another sentence. We could take it or leave it. We don't need to see that. We'll look away, we'll take our drink, whatever. But if you're standing there with a thing in your hand and you're talking, this thing might be about to do something. And so holding that prop increases the audience's interest in the words that you're saying as well, I think. So I try now, if you watch my performance again, you'll notice that there's almost 0 times in the show when I'm talking to the audience, but I'm not also holding a thing, because that feels like something's about to happen and you better not look away because you'll miss it. So Yeah, Silk to Egg is one of those moments. There's always something going on, and if you can just be yourself and talk and let the jokes be organic and directly glued onto the tricks in that way, then try and keep hold of your props all the time. Again, Jeffrey Durham has a great thing about this in his book. He says that if you've got this box and something's about to appear in it, and you make such a big deal, as magicians, we always do this thing where we say, I never touched it, I never went near this thing, I never opened it, touched the lock, I never did anything. All the audience think is, well, what the hell did you do? Like that, the box is magic. You're not magic, the box is magic. Whereas if you come out and you hold this thing, but in a way that it looks like you can't be doing anything, but you're holding it, they still won't know how the trick works, but they'll know that you did it. And that's the thing, I think. We make too big a deal, I think, of distancing ourselves from our props when we should actually make a bigger deal of the fact that we always have them. Like they are an extension of us, and it's not magic prop, it's magic person holding said prop. So that, I think, for me, makes for stronger magic. And the Silk to Egg is a great classic for a reason. So again, get it in your act, give it a try. I feel like at the end of every trick I go, get it in your act, like some sort of infomercial. It's really weird here because the last time I did the Penguin Live lecture, there was an audience for the explanations. So you have this natural moment where you go, and that's that, and everyone claps their hands. And now I just look at Dan and go,
are there any questions? No, I already know.
And he goes, I know how it works. So it's really weird. It's the first time I've ever lectured where there hasn't been an audience. I've made a DVD before, but that's a slightly different proposition. So it's funny. But so that's the Silk to Egg, and I'm going to try and not say, and put that in your act, like some sort of infomercial. So there you go. I think the next thing is, string theory. Right, so.
I like this, and I know what you're going to say already.
Yeah.
I do. Because like anybody else that's had to deal with this issue, how can you make numbers interesting?
Yeah.
That's what we need to talk about. And you did. It's such a good routine that I want to do it. I want to put it in my act.
Oh, well,
it's that good.
Yeah.
Just this idea of using that colloquial expression that is.
You don't
over
have
there.
that here, though,
we don't
do you?
have it
No.
here. So something like that, come up with something, or I may just talk about my travels or whatever.
Yeah, I think if you're here, you can say, I was in England a few weeks ago.
That's right.
And
heard this
phrase.
expression that I think is great.
It's just as strong as having that phrase.
Yep,
I think it's fine.
I believe so too. But man, does that just generate interest that's beyond a 3-digit number. Name a 3-digit number, name a 3-digit number. Why are you getting 3-digit numbers? This makes perfect sense.
Yeah, the people have to, if they're just saying numbers for no reason, it's not as interesting as if they're trying to guess the length of the string. Every person that says a number, everyone else is thinking, oh, you think it's that long. Mm-hmm. You're finding something else about that person. Mm-hmm. And you've always got those jokes about if someone says the same 3 numbers in a row. Actually, a funny thing happened yesterday, which I'll talk about as I explain it, to do with the fact that I'm in America. I hadn't thought until yesterday that in England we have the metric system, so we have centimeters, and in America you have inches. Mm-hmm. And of course, so there are 2.5 inches to a centimeter, and so ordinarily...
Or the other way around.
Yeah, sorry, that's completely... oh, God, I'm such an idiot. There are 2.5 centimeters in an inch. And so the prediction number that I usually use is not the same as the one that I used last night. Mm-hmm. Usually I would use 753, but last night I had to use...
351.
351. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I went the opposite way because I realized that the audience would never believe that ball of string was 753 inches long, because it's just impossible. So but the way I arrived at the number that I used, by the way, is that I genuinely did ask 20 people, how many centimeters long do you think this piece of string is? And then I added them all together and I divided it by those 20 people, and then that's the number I used ever since. Like, that's really, that wisdom of the crowd thing that I use in the show, that is real. That's like, you can look it up on Wikipedia. It is an actual real phenomena. And so that's how I arrived at the number that I use. I do the same trick sometimes with a jar of jelly beans, and I have them guess how many jelly beans are in the jar, or anything that visually they can see and guess that number, but it has to be something that's going to yield a fairly high number. What I like about the string theory thing is that I can basically knock that trick up almost impromptu. Like if someone says, can you do a show tonight? I can go to the store and get string, and I can write the number on a piece of paper and put it in an envelope, and I'm good to go. So that's kind of how that comes around. So let's get into it. I keep the ball of string inside of this little jar, which I just got. I mean, they sell these at all sorts of different places. I got this in the UK at a store called Dunelm, but I'm sure there are a ton of places in the US and other countries you can get similar stuff. A Kilner jar will work, or things like that with a closable lid. The one thing I like about this jar is that the top is metal, and I was able to put a hole in, which I just used with a regular hand drill with a what's the word, like the thing for drilling through wood, any will do. And I just drilled a little hole through. What I will say is, if you try to use a drill bit that's too big, it will just shred this up. So I used a really, really thin one, and then when that went through, I used a slightly thicker one and a slightly thicker one again, and I built up through the sizes of drill bits until I was able to make this hole, because if you go straight in with a big one, it just messes it up. So use a small one first.
Yeah, and Mark, I will tell you that here in the U.S., if somebody went to Michael's craft store, that they sell mason jars.
Okay.
And one of them that they sell has a hole in the lid
really?
to make an oil lamp.
Okay.
Yeah, so that it would save
well, that's
somebody
perfect.
a lot of time. Yeah.
I wish I'd known about that. That would have really helped. So I have that in there, that little hole. I don't mention it at the beginning. I just take it out and I take the string out and I show it to them like this. And you've got the jar. But it's just a nice little, I really like things in jars. I like those impossible bottles. I like a ship in a bottle. I like a deck of cards in a bottle. All of those things are nice visual things. So that can go in there. And you talk about it. Place the lid on and place it down onto the table like that. Just a nice visual, interesting look. What I will say is that the string, again, I buy this from a wool store, and it's all different colours and it looks really nice. You could do it with just a single colour ball of string, and I first got into this idea because of the trick. Whose trick is it? Where is it? Manuel Assar, where the note ends up inside of the ball of string?
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, is that the guy? I think that's the guy. Yeah. And so I like that. I love that visual of something being inside of the string. That's what first put the trick into my head. I didn't work that trick myself because I've never felt comfortable doing tricks that involve borrowing money from the audience for whatever reason. And that moment where the money's gone and the joke is that, hey, you're never going to get your money back, like that has never played well for me. Although I laugh when other performers do it, I just have never done it. So I liked the visual, but I didn't do the trick, and I transferred it to something else. But this string is really nice. So if you can find the multicolored string, it makes it really obvious that it's unfurling as well. I think this is a good shout to get that sort of stuff. So there we go. The envelope, which has the prediction in, this little Harry Potter envelope that I use. I always write, you can see right there that the number that I use, 753, if we bring this in, is written on with pencil. I write that there because in the moment on stage, your brain is all over the place. Like usually for me, when I'm performing, my brain is all over the place. Last night when I was performing, and there's an audience of people and I'm in a different country, and there's all this pressure that it's been filmed and the version that you do tonight is the one that everyone's going to see forever, that really builds up in your head. So it's good to find as many ways to take out the fear of things that you might forget. And it's really easy to forget a 3-digit number that you wrote down 6 months ago, even if you've looked at it every single day. But last night I had to change the number because of centimeters and inches, which we just talked about. So always in my show, I have that written. I have the 753. So the very last thing that happens to me is I show the audience the amount of the length of the string is printed on a piece of paper in this envelope, and as I take it out and show them the piece of paper, I look at the number to get one last check. The number that I was using last night, which was 351, I wrote it on there too with a pen, just to, and you don't want to write it anywhere but on the flap, because sometimes it can show through, and it gives you that nice reason to just open it up, take the piece of paper out, get a good look, and then put it away. So I looked at the number, glanced it one last time just to be sure, 351, close the envelope up, and I lean it there against the jar. I'm ready to go. Now, the way that this works, it's based on the toxic force. The toxic force first came into my life when I was watching the Greg Wilson Penguin lecture, which I know he's done a few, but one of his Penguin lectures was brilliant, and it had the toxic force on, and that thing blew my mind, because it is the most, just ready to go, amazing way to fool people on the planet. So I'll give you a quick explanation of it now. I need a phone, actually. I should have arranged this. Does anyone have an iPhone? You guys have one? They were pulling it out from behind the camera. We're getting an iPhone out. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is unlock this. So I'll turn the brightness up. Could you unlock that for me? Now, you do need to get it unlocked for reasons which I'll explain right now. Thank you. So if anyone ever hands me the phone, I'll give you so many little tips I found doing this. If somebody ever hands me the phone and it is locked but they've opened the calculator in the way you'll know this. If you pull down from the screen, you can open the calculator from this screen without unlocking the phone, and that will not allow you to unlock the landscape portrait lock. So you need to have it unlocked for that reason. So I will immediately, if they hand it to me without unlocking, I will press the side button so that it locks up, and I'll say, oh, I locked it. Could you just unlock it for me again? And this time they'll just type their code in. It's much better that way. So that's what I do. Now, because you need to turn off the landscape portrait mode, it will usually be locked like that, so when you turn it to the side, nothing happens. What I do is I say, let's turn the brightness up on this thing, and I get this screen on where you can do that. I turn the brightness up full, and at the same time I unlock the landscape portrait mode, because I want the brightness to be high, so the truth of what I'm doing helps me cover the lie of the other thing that I need to do. So we get off that screen, we find the calculator, which is handily here. We set it to 0 and we're ready to go. Now I turn the phone back to me. And what's going to happen is I'm going to type in the force number that I need straight away, 351. And then I'm going to make a joke and say, I know, let's play a psychic game. And at this point, because I'm saying this thing, I can freely look at the phone. In this psychic game, you all guess what you think this person's text messages say, and then I'll read them out and find out if anybody was right. That's what we call the Kodak moment, and at this point, I'm ready to do the trick. I've set everything up. So let's go back there, and I'll show you exactly what I do. So we center the phone, we type in the force number, which in my case is 351. Now it's called the toxic force because those letters will help you remember the things you need to press on the calculator. So in this case, T is the plus sign because it looks like a plus. T plus 0, O, toxic, X, the X for it. Then when you turn the phone sideways, the scientific calculator is going to open up, and you're going to press this, the open bracket, which is invert. And then you turn it back and you press C, which is C. So T plus O, 0, X times invert, cancel. T-O-X-I-C, toxic. That's where it comes from. And I think that every time in my head, so I never forget. So that's the trick set up. But this is what I'm going to do. I'll show you this from behind. Perfect angle. Thank you, guys. So as soon as I say, I take the phone, let's play a psychic game. I'll read all of the text messages, and we'll find out, you guess what you think they say, and I'll read them all out, and we'll find out if any of you are right. When I turn the phone sideways, I pretend I'm taking a picture, and that's when I press the open bracket. That's my excuse for turning the phone sideways. Then I tip it back up and say, just kidding, let's get ready to do the thing. And then I'm set, okay? So let's do that again from behind. I'll show you from the front and behind. I take the phone back, it's open, I've turned the brightness up. Hey, let's play a little psychic game. I'll read out all of their text messages, and then we'll find out if, you guess what the text messages say. I'll read them out, we'll find out if you're right. That's a Kodak moment. Just kidding, don't worry. You can give me the first number, and I'm ready to go. Let's do that again from behind so you can see what I'm pressing at those times. Thanks for the phone. Let's play a little psychic game. You all guess what you think the text messages say. I'll read them out and find out if anybody was right. That's what we call the Kodak moment. Boom, just kidding. You can give me the first number. And I turn back like this. Now, at the moment, the X is lit up. I don't want the audience to see that. So I'm going to ask for the first number. But as soon as you press the first digit, that's going to go off the screen. So I'm just going to stand here and say, give me a 3-digit number. They give me a 3-digit number, and I type it in, 745. And I turn back like this, and I go, look, 745 plus. Let's add it to the next one. You give me a 3-digit number. And now, the way that this works, you can type anything in you want. It really doesn't matter. Whenever you press equals, what you're going to get is the number that you typed into force. And the reason that works is this. Anything times 0 is going to be 0. So what you do is you put in the number that you want to force, in my case, 351 plus 0 times something. So the mathematical thing is the number you want plus 0 times something. And 0 times anything is still 0. So effectively, when you press equals, all that's happening in the calculator is the number you want plus 0. Because the times thing is going in brackets. Okay, so nothing's happening there. So 351 plus 0 times something. Times whatever is still 0. So it's the number you want plus 0. That's all the maths there. So we're going to go 351 plus 0 times, and then we open the bracket, and now we type anything we want in, plus blah, blah, blah. In it goes. I mean, anything. It really doesn't matter. Whenever you press equals, you're going to get that force number back. Okay, I hope that explains it. plus 0 XIC, toxic, plus 0 times invert cancel, okay? So there we go. So my excuse for doing all of this mathematical thing, because as Dan said, making numbers interesting, that's the thing that's most difficult. If you ask people, give me a three-digit number, give me a three-digit number, it's really boring. But if you're asking them, guess how long this ball of string is, every time somebody guesses, everyone else in the audience can think, oh, you think that. Oh, you think that. It's giving them a thing to all focus on together. And you've told them about this wisdom of the crowd thing, which again is real. So they're hoping that between them, they're going to nail this solution. And they are going to. So let's do it. Force number, I'm going to do this 1 billion times. We just got a snapshot then. I closed it off. I should open it and then we'll tell everyone. Now you got that fear that I give people in the audience. So 351 plus 0 times invert cancel, but it's not cancel all. It's just clear. And now we put in the sum. So the first person gives me a three-digit number, 456 plus. Second person 951 plus. Next person, 456 plus. We do all of these things plus. And again, you can do anything. So I just constantly ask for numbers and I get to like 8 or 9 people. Last night I accidentally did 10 and then I couldn't divide the number by 10 because everybody knows what the answer is. So I had to get one more person, which is why I went, let's have one more. And I added 11 and then I divided by 11. Usually I go to 8 or 9, but my brain just went out the window and I forgot. So plus, by the way, every time you type the number in, and I've made this mistake, make sure that the plus is lit up. Because if you type one number in here and you miss the plus, it's not going to be lit up. And what's going to happen is the number that you put next is going to add on to this number. And it's going to make the number that appears on the screen so big that nobody will ever believe that divided it came back down to a three-digit number. So every time you go to type in another number, make sure that plus is lit up. Okay, that's really, really important. Get to where you want to be. Blah, 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 that's the last one. And then I say, well, divide that by how many people we've got. Now, this is really good. This is a tiny little tip that's important. The number that's currently on the screen is the last guess. So at this point, the audience have no idea what the total number is, and I'm leaving it this way on purpose. So I'll say, how many people guessed? Hold your hand up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people. Great. So let's divide that by 9. And all the numbers they see is divide, and then they see 9. So they never can go back and go, wait, the total was that, and now it's divided down to this. They don't ever get to see that information. So divide by 9, really clearly press equals, and there it goes. We get 351. So I'll reiterate to the audience now. We added all of your guesses together. Then we divided by however many of you there were. That gave us an average of your guesses, and the average is 351. Thank you for the phone, and I hand the phone back at that point. 351. I repeat it a few times. But then when I take the envelope out, I forget. So the audience remind me. So now it's not me telling them it was 351, it's them telling me it was 351, which is way stronger. A lot of people, when they do this trick, they have someone in the audience do the work for them. I find that too scary, that it could go wrong, they could mess it up. Because everyone's guessing, they don't think that it's very important that they do it exactly right. So if they clear it off, they'll quickly make it up or whatever. And also, because I'm a stage performer, that if you're doing this close-up, you can see everything that's happening. If you're on stage and someone in the front row and you're trying to perform, you don't want to have to constantly be looking at that person to check what they're doing. So as long as you've got the numbers typed in and you're really clean like I am here, where I do it in front of them, I don't think it matters that I'm doing it and not them. So I do this, I come in cleanly, I press the equals 351, there it is. Just the script is reiterating everything for them. So that's how we get to the number. I hand the phone back. Thank you so much for the loan of your phone. I appreciate it. The number was 351. Let's take a look and see how close you got. The number what was it again? And now they remind me. Oh, yeah, 351, that's right. Take this out. Open up a bit of paper. Boom, you got 351. And I mean, you heard the gasps on the show. It really will always get that reaction. It's hard to make an audience care about numbers, but a thing like this will happen. So when you show this, you don't need to say anything. I just take it out and I go, huh. And then I show them, and it's killer strong on its own. Don't overplay it. Don't trample all over their applause. Just let them see it and react. Another thing, actually, Dan and I talked about this last night. As magicians or comedians or any kind of performer, we get so head up on what we need reaction-wise. Like, if the audience don't clap, we're no good. But the natural reaction to astonishment is not applause. It's silence. If the audience gasp and then a few seconds go by where their heads are just going... what just happens. That's a better trick. That's the kind of thing they're going to remember next week, and they're going to tell their friends when they see them. Like, applause immediately means that was cool, but we didn't care about it that much. That little beat before they remember to clap, that means you really fooled them. So don't be afraid of silence. Like, the blank spaces are as important as what comes in between them. And this is one of those tricks where you'll show this, there'll be a gasp and silence, and don't say anything. Just let them realize, okay, and now we applaud. It's much better that way. A little point on the numbers. One thing that I do when I do it myself usually, and I'm doing it in centimeters, I give guidance, you'll notice in the performance. So my number is 753, and I'll say to the audience, a little cue on the length, it is longer than 10, but it is fewer than 1,000. It is towards the higher end though, so a 3-digit number, somewhere between 10 and 1,000, towards the higher end, because I do want the guesses to be near what it's going to end up as. If every single person, when I'm doing 753, guesses 236, and then the average ends up being 753, that is not going to add up. So I want them to think that they were close. And they'll notice the way that I did it last night. I said, it's between 10 and 500. It is, sort of towards the higher end. And the guesses ended up being, all of the guesses I think were above 250, which that's what really helps. A couple were nearly 500. It was like exactly right. It'd be interesting actually to go back and add up what they really guessed and see how close that was. But yeah, so that's the thing. Again, as far as pack small, place big goes, this is like it. You can make all of this stuff at the show if you need to, but I mean, who can't travel with that? It's an envelope with a bit of paper in. To be able to get that level of reaction, and people talk about it after the show, and they really will, from something that essentially fits inside of your carry-on to this degree, is unbelievable. And that's why it's one of my favorite tricks. And then this doesn't add a huge amount of weight to it. But what I also like, if you're not going to do this whole thing with a jar, and you don't have to, I like, before I came up with the thing with a jar, I used to have this in my pocket, and I really liked, so I separated the shows the way I did them last night for all sorts of different reasons to do with my ability to explain them to the audience. Ordinarily what happens when I perform this material is I do a show that is predominantly mind-reading stuff and a show that is predominantly magical stuff, but I mixed them together a bit last night for this show and this audience. But I do the bird box thing, so I come up with a blindfold and I do the trick, and then I put those things down, and then I say, we have this phrase, and I take the ball of string out of my pocket, and I really like that I've come out with everything to start the trick, and then I've taken this out. Or I mention to the audience, like, so I came out using that string to find the center of the stage, and that reminds me of a phrase my mum used to say as a kid, how long is a piece of string? And then I bring this out and say, and it's a really good question. So that's my normal segue, but because I did them in separate halves last night, I didn't do it that way. But there's another idea for you if you want to do this. It is really nice to just have this in your pocket and then take it out and talk about that thing, and then get a glass and put it inside of a wine glass or whatever. But yeah, for a bit of string in an envelope, God, that's like
it's charming too.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it. It becomes something really personal. And of course, we should mention that string is exactly 351 inches. It has to be, otherwise you'd be lying.
That is right. Yeah, it is exactly 351 centimeters. And there it is back in there. Now, the important thing to say about this is that when you finish the trick, if you're going to do what I did, which is use it for an impossible location for another item, and it can be a bunch of other things, and I'll go over a couple of them, you have to leave it out. You can't put it back in your case, really. It needs to stay in view. So I just leave it on the table there. I take this bow, I put this away, and then we're into the next bit. Okay, so that's that, and that stays out. So that's, I call that string theory. My favorite thing about it is the name. It's because it's but yeah, string theory, so that's that. Put it in your act. So now we're going to do multiple selection. I used to do this as a close-up trick at restaurants. It was always one of my favorite things to do because there's a lot of revelations. Again, you've got that little bit of setup, but then the magic's going to really pack a lot of punch. And it was one of the things that always people said they liked when I did close-up magic shows, and it took me forever to realize, why don't you put that in your stage show? And now I have, and I never take it back out again. So let's get into it. This thing with the modern magic book and everything, all that story about my grandfather is, of course, as most magicians have a grandfather story, is not true. And the same is real for me, it is not true. What actually is a shame is that last night I made a mistake in that there's a passage in here, and I've read it enough times to basically be able to remember, but I usually read it verbatim, that thing that I said about any magic, and nothing will yield results for the magician more than the magic of card tricks. And it is really in here, and I found the passage, and that's what inspired me to use this book. And I use my show program as a bookmark. I'm not going to be able to find this right now, but it's in here somewhere. But because I was really reading this book, because I brought it from England, and I thought, well, on the plane I might as well take this and read it, and I did. And I forgot to put the bookmark back in the real place. And if you watch the performance again, you'll see me open the book and go, it's in the wrong place. Like that little flash goes through my eyes. So go back and look, and now that you know, it'll make you laugh. But I was able to remember enough to get through it. So I show the book, I talk about it a little bit, I open it up, I read that little passage. That is true, by the way. I checked this. Andy Gladwin has done a bunch of projects, and one of them was about multiple selection, and he told me that the multiple revelation card trick actually does originate from Professor Hoffman. So that was a nice... my show was already called Modern Magic. Like, this is really the handbill for my show. And the reason I have this handbill is that I do that trick of John Lovick's, the torn and restored handbill trick. I do it in a totally different way, and I use a kid, and the kid reads out the instructions, and the instructions are printed inside, and I do it to get the kid used to being on stage with me. We sit on the edge of the stage and do it together. So that's why I have these handbills made like this. And you should check out John's Penguin lecture, John Lovick, because this trick is killer if you've never seen it. And I got it from there, and it's a brilliant trick, and it's in his book too. But anyway, so that's in there as a bookmark. And in my show, the audience all have this on their seat. So when I bring it out, they know exactly what it is too. And I use it to read. I put that back in, and I talk about the performer. So there we go. That's how I get into it. We have a deck of cards. The cards that I use are these Phoenix large index cards. I cannot say enough about these particular cards. They're the same size as a regular deck, but they are printed in such a way that the pips are just that bit larger. Everything about them is like, perfect for stage. They really work. You don't have to use bigger cards, but they really stand out. And if you hold a deck of these up against a regular deck, you'll really see what I mean. So these come from Card Shark, the Phoenix Jumbo Index deck, and they don't look weird. Like a usual Jumbo Index deck looks strange. I mean, there's nothing about them.
I wouldn't even have known it.
Yeah, you'd never know.
But I can tell.
If you see that next to a regular card, it looks insane, the difference. But to see it there, you cannot tell at all that there's anything about this deck. So let's get into multiple selection. 6 of the choices are absolutely free. The first choice is a force. I use a classic force. Actually, I use Mark Mason's Attitude Force that he taught to me, and is on his original DVDs, Real World Magic. I learned it from him directly because I worked for him at JB Magic, and he showed it to me. Ostensibly, it's this. The card that you want to force is on the top of the deck. I'll turn it face up so that it never leaves your view. You cut the card towards the middle, and you keep a break, a truck driver's break, he always used to call it. Just jam your finger in there so you're never going to lose it. And now when I spread like this, will we get this from above? Yeah, so now when I spread, you can see that the card is there. That's a little peek of where it is, but I've got my finger in there, so I'm not going to lose it. It's like, it really is. It's truck driver's break. So I'm spreading the deck here, and I ask someone, touch a card, and that will make them put their finger out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spread like this, and as soon as they go to touch one, I'm going to break the deck and say, look, they're all different. And now they can't wait to touch that card. So as soon as I bring it back, I'm going to spread immediately to the card that I want, and I'm going to put it on their finger. Okay, so if I can do that with Dan, actually,
sure.
that will
absolutely. Let me come out.
That will really help. Thanks, Dan.
Yep, no problem.
So I'm going to say, touch a card, and you're going to put your finger out, and I'm going to say, anyone. And as soon as you go, I'll say, look, any of these. I immediately bring it back, and I put it on your finger. And as soon as his finger touches, I'm going to move away so that if you don't grab it now, it'll fall on the floor. Yeah. So you feel like you touched it, but you feel like you picked it, but you didn't. So like this, just touch one of these. It'll be anyone you want. And I put it on his finger and I move away. Yeah. And the trick too as well is that once you've taken it, so we're in this position, so if you just take that, once you've taken it, don't stop, keep spreading and move away like that, so it feels like it could have been any. And it's like thank you, Dan.
Yeah, sure.
So it's actually a lot easier to do than you would think, and it's like, I mean, it really never fails. I force a card in the show, and even the highest pressure shows, I mean, last night is pretty high pressure. We're filming the show to put out, and all of my friends and peers and anyone who I ever know in magic could potentially watch it, and I still did this force. Like, I believe in it. If I was doing the Royal Variety Show for the Queen of England, I would force the card on her this way. I don't bottle out and do like a different, kind of force just because I'm doing a big show. I always classic force because I think it looks fair and it looks the same as how everyone else is going to pick their card. So it's important because at the end, we're going to have an impossible location of a not signed card, and it makes more sense than signing it, but we'll come back to that later. So all the cards have to be picked in the same way. So classic force. The best tip I can give you about this is force the card when you don't need to. Every single time from now until the day you die, if you have a card selected, classic force it. Because why the hell not? It feels like a fair selection, so why not practice every time you do it? And if you don't need to have the card forced, then it doesn't matter, still force it. If you do need to have the card forced, brilliant. And if you mess it up, it doesn't make any difference. Do a different trick. But like magic now, the way that if I ever have to do close-up magic for anyone, my favorite thing in the world to do, Dan, can I borrow you back for 1 second? I'm so sorry. Mm-hmm. My favorite thing in the world to do now is say, look, all these cards, just touch one of these. They're all different. Just take anyone. I don't care what it is. You take it out. Look at it. Mm-hmm. Don't let me see. You take the deck. Put it back in there. You give them a shuffle.
I'm not going to do it because we got, unless you want me to.
Oh, yeah, no, please do. Yeah,
okay,
absolutely. Put it in there, give them a shuffle.
Okay,
so you shuffle them, don't let me see it. It's in there somewhere. Like, you took the card. I wasn't even looking. You just took it because I've been looking away enough now that I can now pretend I wasn't looking. You put it in there. I wasn't looking. I gave you the deck. You put it back in. You shuffled. You got them. Thank you so much, Dan. That's all I need for now. So now the card is in there freely, and you picked, and I'm saying to my spectator, you picked a card, I don't know what it is, I mean, it's in here somewhere, and now I'm just going to spread through, and I'm going to get it roughly, and bring it to the top. And I'm going to say, I don't know, it's in here, how the hell am I going to find this thing? You picked it, I wasn't looking, and now I've got it to the top. And this is like the best position to be in. So now when you find the card via some method, I'll say, look, I find it with one hand, just say stop. Was that it? They're going to say no, and you say, well, I said I'd find it with one. I didn't say which one. However you find the card now, if it feels like I could have had any, I wasn't looking, it went in, it's like the fairest thing to do. So you might as well, if you're going to have someone pick a card, why not just force it and be streets ahead and practice every single time? Like the amount of magicians that say to me, I'm struggling with my force. I say, show me a trick. And they go, take a card. And I pick one freely. I go, why didn't you try and force it then? That's why you can't do it. You're not practicing every single time. It's the most fundamental thing. And it's what Mark said to me when I was working for him. He taught me the thing. And then he would say, so just do that every time now. Never don't do that. It's stupid not to. So, I mean, I'm getting a bit ranty, but I really believe in this thing. Like, if you're going to learn the classic force, just do it every time. Why do anything other than that? So that's what I do. I classic force the card, and because I've done it so many, like thousands of times, I'm confident enough that even in the moment when I'm forcing a card on the Queen of England, and I need it to be the right card, I'm still going to do a classic force, because why not? So that's where we're at. The first card is picked. It is classic forced. I come away, and now without closing the deck, I say, and you take one too, and that second person takes one. Now what I'm going to do, because I just like it, is I'm going to split the deck, and I'm not going to go into this, but I'm going to make these two fans, and I'm going to say, you take one and you take one, because I think it just looks like I'm being open and fair. So, I'm not exactly like Tony Clark or anyone who's brilliant at this, but basically I'm just going to make these two fans and say, you take one and you take one. So it feels like they're just coming out of everywhere, and I want the process to speed up a little bit, because this bit's boring when the cards are getting chosen. So we've got 1, 2, let's have 3 and 4, you take one. And then I might close them up. I get this nice little display, because I'm not a card manipulator, but it's nice to show a little bit of that, because that helps reinforce that when you start finding the cards, this guy really knows his way around the deck. So if you can show some of that kind of, dexterity and skill early doors, that's going to help sell that as well later. So I do this, the next person, that's 5, that's 6, let's take one more, that's 7. Everyone take a look at the cards, and if you wouldn't mind, shuffle them. The audience will not remember when the deck was shuffled. They'll only know that they were. So at this point, I'm going to say, you shuffle, I don't care. Everyone's got cards, you give them a nice mix, let's get this thing as fair as we can. And I'm empty-handed. So before I go into the explanation of this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take out the ace through to 7 of spades, so that you can track all of the cards, and you know that it's in the right order. 3, 4, 5, is that all of them? Ace 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. We're just missing 6. There it is. Okay, so this is all of the cards here. Now, the first thing that's going to happen is that the very first card that's getting chosen, when it gets, let me put these in order. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so these are the cards getting returned to the deck.
Do we want to just put that 5 of hearts in just so we don't confuse the ending?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
That's the preload as well. And that would be in place of what the ace of spades.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so these are the 7 cards as they're going to be returned to the deck, and I'm putting them there in order on the table.
Or man, I'm a stickler for this kind of stuff. Let's do the ace through 6 for the random cards, Because it's driving me crazy. It's the 2 through 7. Isn't it driving you crazy?
well,
Ace through 6 are the random cards.
Dan, I don't mind, but I mean, out of the two of us in Magic, nobody's ever going to call me a genius, and I've heard you referred to that way quite a few times. So you know what? I will bow to your experience.
Well, part of being, I guess, a genius is obsessive compulsive disorder. So I need to have the Ace through 6 as my random cards. How random could we be?
Yeah. Well, nobody is ever going to call me that, so I'll take it. Okay, Ace through 6. That make you happy, Dan?
Yeah, it makes me very happy.
Okay, good.
Then I can track everything.
So Ace through 6 is there. The 5 is on top. Yeah. So I'm going to take them from there as we go to placing them back in the deck. So I'm in this position. I take back the cards as they shuffle. I do that old joke. Now put them back in the order they were when I gave them to you. That always gets a nice laugh, as if it's important. I'm like, well, I don't know. I'll try my best. Now I'm going to have the card returned to the deck. And I'll do this thing, which is just a timing thing. If you could put this back into the deck for me. So the first person's going to place the card in, and I'm going to say, place the card anywhere that you want. And make sure I don't cheat, by the way. I hope you're all looking at this. And I'll feel them put it in. And as I do, I'll pause like this, and I'll step away, and I'll say, okay, put it back there. And when they look, it's back in already. Yeah. So just grab any card and we'll do the quick time thing. So, we're going to place this back. Put that anywhere you want. Make sure I don't see. This is important. I'm not cheating. Put it back there for me.
I put it back in.
Oh, okay. Well, it's going to be, and I just, boom, close the deck. Thank you again, Dan. So I'll say, well, it's going to be a different trick than normal. I might find 6 tonight. So the audience will remember that one did not go where I was expecting it to go. It's harder. And also, if you can be fair, like that card really can go back anywhere in the deck. So I might as well have it go there. So I say, put it back anywhere. Boom. There will be good. Oh, it didn't? Okay, fine. Well, don't worry, I'll try. And that gives me that excuse for the next person to be like, well, I'm going to pay a bit more attention now because I need to be able to find these things. So I take the next card, and I place it on top of the deck like this, and I say, you choose where it goes, say stop. And I flick too fast, and they go, stop. And I go, okay, it's got to be somewhere between starting and finishing, but don't worry, I'm going to give you another try. It didn't happen last night, but what usually happens is I go like this, and they shout stop straight away, and I haven't started yet, so I can say, well, I didn't start yet, so, give me a break. Or what will happen is I'll do this, and they'll go to say stop, but they'll realize I haven't started. So instead of going and then stopping, they'll go and I'll just wait, and they'll be going like that, and I'll go, are you being deflated? It sounds like someone's letting you down. And then I'll act it out, and this is really funny, I didn't get to do it last night, but I'll go, she just went, and I'll do that until I fall flat on the floor, and it will get the biggest laugh. So if you can mime out that thing of just going like that until you fall flat. It's really funny. But falling on the floor hurts, and without the adrenaline of having a full audience, I'm not willing to do it right now. You just have to use your imaginations. But really hit the deck and it'll get a huge laugh. So I take that card back, I ask them to say stop, they say stop, and at the exact point where they stop, I lift up the deck and I do this thing where it looks like the card goes in, but what's actually happening is it's the card from the middle going back into its exact place. So we'll talk about this from above if we can. Now, this move has its roots. It's 2 places. Jerry Sadowitz, I can never remember what he called it, but he published it. And also Greg Wilson calls it the miracle move. Maybe Eric will know. Eric, do you know what Sadowitz calls this thing where you do that and it's really the thing from the middle? No.
The gobshite slip slide.
Yeah,
I don't know what he called
it. It's from that though, isn't it? But I know that I know you like his material and you're a real card guy.
Yeah, I can't remember what he called it either.
But this is what's happening. So you're picking up where they said, and the card, so I'll show you what it looks like with the card face up. I mean, it looks like nothing's happening with the card face up there. But when you do it with this card face down, it really looks like that's the card from the top going in. So what's going to happen is this. You're going to pick up the cards, and you're going to take out this card from inside the deck like that, using this finger. So your finger's contacting, it's pulling that out there. But at the same time, you're doing this dual downward motion. So you do that. So even from that angle, it looks good. I'll do it real slow so you can see. So you're going to, so let me go through all of the mechanics slowly, because you can use this to control the card 1,000,000 times. It's really fun. So you're going to pick up this half of the deck, and I'm going to use this finger to kick this down, kick the deck down out of the way. So that'll give me a little bit of room with these 2 fingers. And I'm going to come right across. And this finger has got quite good cover, and this one does. So it covers the deck quite well. It's like a crossing action here. What's going to happen is I'm going to do this, and I'm going to pull the card out. So let's have it fully from one angle and then fully from another if we can. So We'll start here on this angle. I pick the deck up, I kick the cards down, I slide that card out like this, I leave it sticking out, and then I put those right on top and then square it in. Let's have it from above now if we can, please. So I pick the cards up, kick that down, pull that card out from the middle, leave it sticking out, place those on top, square it in. And it feels super fair. So in fast motion, there it is. It's a lovely clean control. Just like that. So I take the card back from them, like this. We'll go from the front again. I take the card back. I say, you get to choose where it goes. Just say stop. Right, like that. In it goes. Let's have the next one. I take the next card back. It goes on top of the deck. I do this classic kind of... honestly, any controls you want will work here. I just do a different one every time because I like it. I have this little line where I say every card goes in a different place in a different way, and it just helps me get through this little moment. So I do this thing where you cut the deck, so I'm swing cutting half the deck off and taking in this hand, and as I swing cut the next one, I pass that back underneath, and everything goes on top. So I'll go real slow. I'll turn this face up so you can see where it is. So swing cut, and then pass that underneath as the second one goes. So that's only a top stock false cut, this. It's the middle part is getting messed up. But that's it. So it's swing, place it back underneath here, swing cut the next pack, put that one on top, and then that one there. But with the card face down, I'm saying, look, the card goes somewhere in the middle. And I make the biggest deal about this last bit. Don't do this. What you want to do is go, look, the card gets cut right into the middle. Like that last one is the one that sells it. Square them up again. Then I'm going to do the classic double undercut for the next one. So I swing cut, and I have them place the next card onto the pile, and I do a double undercut. I mean, there's a billion places to learn this, really. This is not going to help me teaching it now, but the card has gone there, and and of course, you have to always respect the order of the deck because all of the selections are building up on the top. So I swing cut again, they put the card back, and then I double undercut to bring the card back. You can, look the double undercut up somewhere because it's mad for me to show you exactly how to do it here. It's like the oldest, thing ever. So I do that. Now we're at the next one. I ask for the next card. I'm probably going to take this and put it back in this way, like that. I'm basically jazzing at this point where all the cards are getting mixed in. But between those three controls, you're basically going to get there until you get to the last one and the last card goes in. And I always do it this way. So look, there they are. Every card is fairly in. And now I say we're going to have like a human casino cut card. So what's happened here is that 6 of the selections, the last 6, are all on the top of the deck in reverse order. The first one, which didn't matter where it goes, that's somewhere in the middle. I honestly do not know where it is. But the others are all here on the top of the pack, okay? But they're in reverse order, of course, because we went along this way. My interest in this trick in multiple selection came from Aldo Colombini's brilliant multiple selection, which was called Fireworks. And he had this really cool control, and that control ended with the deck, all of the cards being in the right order. I don't do that because it was showing the card here and then them continuing and then showing the card that I like to have them selected. But you should look up Fireworks by Aldo Colombini. It is a brilliant version of multiple selection. So there we have all the cards are on the top. And this is how the casino cut card works for me. It's called the Reed cut. It's invented by my friend, a Scottish magician called Billy Reed, and he showed it to me in JB Magic years ago, and I've taught it in every lecture since, and I always credit him, and he likes me showing people because it's a really cool move. This is what's going to happen. You riffle down the deck, and let me show you in fast motion. So let's say stop, and do it again, and all of the cards from the top go into the middle. That is about as fair as I can be. But that's not what happens. What happens is this. You riffle down and you cut. So that's the top stock. And then you riffle down the top stock and stop again. And all those cards go into the middle. So in reality, if you see this from the top, and I turn this up, we riffle and we swing cut that half. And now we riffle again, making sure we go at least past the 6 selections and put all of these in the middle. It really feels like every card from the top of the deck goes somewhere in the middle. But that is absolutely not what is happening. Look. Halfway down, swing cut, riffle again, place all of those in the middle as a fan is nice like that, and then I make a big deal of, look, they all go in the middle as fair as I can be. So that's the Reed cut by Billy Reed. and I believe it is in his notes, where I'm not sure if you can get any more, but they're called the Blackpool Notes, but you can look him up, readmagic.com. He's a great magician. He's from Scotland, and he doesn't have a lot published yet, but he will soon. He's very good. So there we go. So that's the reed cut, casino cut card. Place all of those into the middle. I say that's about as fair as I can be, and now we're going to try and find the cards. Okay, now the situation is that all of the last 6 selections are here on the top, ready to go. So as I say to the first person, what was your card? I'm just going to peel it off to the bottom of the deck. It's there now in position, ready on the bottom. They're going to tell me what it is, and I'll say, do you want me to find it the fast way or the slow way? Whatever they say, I go, okay. And I turn the deck up and I look at them and I spread through, which never fails to get a big laugh. Whether they say fast or slow, it really doesn't matter. Then I close them up and I say, look, let me show you the real fast way. And I'm going to fire the card up in the air. I do this different to everyone else I've ever seen. Everyone I see does it like this. They use their thumb to flick the card. But for me, from this dealing grip like this, you know, when you riffle the deck like that, which is the natural way to hold a pack, to me, the way that I should pick the deck up and fire the card is like this. So that's what I do. But I never, is that a thing? Like, I never see anybody else do it this way apart from me. So I do it like this. Like in that natural grip where you're holding the deck, the way that you just would if you were closing them and riffling, that's how I pick the deck up. And I'm going to use the side of this finger to fire the card up into the air. So it's just going to flick it up like that. So that's good in that angle, yeah. You're going to flick it up like that. And it's really like controlled, you know, and it doesn't ever fail me. It's just a nice
yeah, the only one that's similar to that is the one where you pull it down with your index finger, let it pop out.
Oh yeah, and you pull up the pull the thing like that and let it pop off. Yeah, you can get some really good. I mean, if we can,
this I think is.
If we can see it wide, you can get some with that little bit of upwards motion as well. You can get some really, you know, good height on it as well. Sorry, I dropped it then because I was watching myself on the camera. How vain. So yeah, you can get really good height. But the thing that I'm going to do, so I mean, it's just a practice thing, but you're holding the deck here. I mean, hold the deck exactly as you would if you were riffling, and then take this hand away, and now just use that finger to force the card upwards like that. And if you do it with enough gusto and let this thumb get out the way a bit, you will find that with enough practice, you'll be able to flick the card. And you can do it really controlled. Like you can stand like this and, I'm sorry, have the card almost jump. You never do it when you're trying to explain. You know, without having to move, it'll go exactly where you want it to go. It's a neat way to do it. So that's how I do it. But the other thing I'm going to do at the exact same time, because I'm going to follow up this revelation with a top change immediately. If I do this and I catch the card, now I've either got to do a left-handed top change or I'm in trouble, and I can't do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flick the card and I'm going to pass the deck across and I'm going to catch it with my right hand. So fire the card. While the card's in the air, I just put the deck in this hand and I catch it with my right hand. You'll notice a tiny little thing I add just before I catch the card, because everybody's watching the card in the air. They're not looking at my face. When I know it's going to go in my hand, and you know if you juggle or anything, you know where it is. You get that sense. It's like a sound thing. Rather than looking, you hear the rhythm of juggling. It's the same with the card goes up and you know when it's going to land. Split second before I catch it, I just close my eyes and tilt away a tiny bit. So the audience get this impression that and I flick 2 up then. That's because I did the same one a million times and they ended up getting stuck together. Mm-hmm. So I just slightly, sorry. The problem is I'm no good. The lighting is slightly different from yesterday, so I have to turn sideways. So I just slightly close my eyes like that, and you get this impression where I catch it, my eyes closed, fingertips. But I didn't. I'm just like, I'm building up. I'm pretending I did more than what I did. But as I flick it, I'm going to pass the card. Jeez, they're all sticking together. When you use the same one a million times, that's going to happen. Do this one more time, and I will not mess it up. So there it is. So I catch it. I pass the deck across and I catch it. And just before I open my eyes, I flick this over in my hand, so it's the wrong way around, and I'm literally just turning it over. It's not like a T.G. Murphy deck flip or anything cool. I just turn it over. And then I'm in this position, which I really like. This is a strong position for a stand-up card trick. If you read Roberto Giobbi's Stand-Up Card Magic, he talks about this kind of thing a lot. You know, keeping the hands up here above chest height and the way to play to the audience is really worth looking at if you want to do stand-up card magic. So I'm in this position. And I say the first card, and they've told me the name, and I turn it over like that, fingertips, and that's your revelation. And now you relax. You say thanks, and now you're going to execute a top change. Now the easiest way to do the top change is the way that it comes naturally. Like if you try to do switching fingers or any awkward stuff, it's not going to work for you. All of the other selections are on the top. Remember, if you've just revealed this card like this, you're in the exact correct position to do a top change. And all that's going to happen, if we can see from above, is I'm going to bring the card in as I push this over, and I'm just going to let the deck do the work. So it's like that. You know, it's really no work at all. This hand is doing nothing other than tiny momentarily letting the fingers open so that the card can get in. But the hand that's got the deck in, that's the one that does all the work. So it comes in like that. Okay, so I'll turn this. So that's the top change. So just hold the card, bring the deck in, and as it gets there, push it across. Just like that. So it should be smooth. As soon as you add in trying to switch fingers or any other stuff, because you think that'll make it easier, it just gets clumpy and everything gets in the way. Just hold everything right and do it like that, okay? So that's the top change. That's about as best as I can teach. Hold it right in the middle, loose, like, you know, gentle hands. There's a card magician from England called Daniel Chard. He's done a penguin, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Daniel is one of the best card handlers I've ever seen. And the reason he's such a good card handler is because he's soft. He has really soft hands. I mean, he looks like he could rugby tackle you into oblivion, if you know rugby for English people. American football, he looks like he could really charge tackle you, but he's got soft hands. So this is the thing, just be gentle. Push that across, and then let the deck do the work. So that's the top change. So I've revealed this, card number 6. I'm going to come in, I'm going to top change, and I'll do it. If we keep on that angle, you'll see nicely here. I show it here to this person, I show it there, and then I come through and I say, thank you. And even if you're looking at it there, because of the way that the angles go, you shouldn't actually see anything happen. If we can get that wide back again, so that as I'm coming through the deck and I'm gesturing to this person, it feels like nothing happens here, you know, because I'm coming through like that. So that's how you cover it. So I show it here, that was the 6, and I say, thank you for your help, but that's only 1. And now what's going to happen is I'll turn this card back up, and I'm back in this position, so it's like nothing happened since the revelation. And I say, finding 1 is good, blah, 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 but what was your card? The 6 of, sorry, we're in the wrong order. The 5 of spades, sorry, I've done the top change, that's why we're in the wrong order. The 5 of spades, the only way I could find that more quickly than I found and I miscalled this, because there's this great thing about, like magic, the magic doesn't happen at the moment that the audience find out that this is the right card. It happens in the bit where they still think it's the wrong one. Like that's the bit where you're holding this and they really believe it's still the wrong card. That's where the magic lives for me. So we've had this. We've shown the 6, we've come through and we've said thanks, but what was your card? They tell you, well, the only way I could find the 5 of spades more quickly than I found the 6 of spades would be if I already found it. And I don't look back at it until they react, and then I'm shocked too. But that lovely moment of, the only way I could find the 5 of spades more quickly than I found the 6 of spades, and I miscall, would be if I already found it. And that'll make that a really strong moment. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to briefly put this in my mouth because this card on top now is wrong. So I'm just going to cut the deck for a second, and as soon as I cut the deck, I'm going to get a break over this top card, and I'm going to place this on top. So now I've got a back-to-back double. We'll get that from, oh, that's a good angle, yeah. So I'll place that there, and now I've got a back-to-back double with a big break here. Okay, and I'm going to square it up, and I'm going to hold it by these corners because I'm ready to do the shapeshifter change, the swirl when you hold it up. I'll say that wasn't fair because you didn't know what was about to happen when it became the 5, and I pointed it, but I'm holding these 2 back-to-back here now. You didn't know what was going to happen when it became the 5, so this time I'll hold it at arm's length, fingertips, no cheating, what was your card? And the next person says their card. And the fact that they don't name it until this is out here, again, that's where the magic lives, okay? So at this point, they say the card, and I'm going to make, I mean, you'll just see 1 vanish here. It's not a very stunning change, but there it is. And all that's happening is you're holding the card at these 2 opposite corners, the corners where the pips are. Middle finger is on the 4, thumb is on the 4, or whatever card it is, but it's by the pips. And as you do this shake, this finger here is going to come over, and it's just going to turn that around like this. Okay, you're just flipping the card. You can't do it on that angle, but you're just going to, sorry, let me just line it up properly. You're just going to flip the card like that, okay? So, but it happens while you shake. So come across and turn it over. And what's good actually as well, if you just give your wrist a little turn, because the card's on that, so when you turn it over, that's pretty noticeable. So I line it up again like this. It looks better this way. So the 5 becomes the 4 like that. And I show the second one. So that's the change. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to keep it this way so they see the 4, and I'm going to bring it down to the deck because I've got a double here, and I'm going to turn it over so that it remains the double. I keep the break as I turn it over because I need to get rid of both cards at the same time, and I put them both into the deck. and I square up. So now I'm ready. I've got the next few selections on top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to palm the card, and I use a one-handed top palm like this, where you use your finger and you pivot it out. I'll go over that again in a sec. But I use a one-handed top palm, and then I just pull the deck so that it's sticking out like this, but the card is already palmed before I ask what the next one is. So I'm here in this position. I say, what was your card? They tell me. So now it feels like there's no way anything could have happened, because I'm going to take the deck cleanly like that. And just like before, I'm going to let this arm drop. So it's like nothing's happening. And I ask for the card. When they tell me it's the 3 of spades, and I'll always make a point about the suit as if that's important. I'll say, I'll find this with one hand. I put my arm behind my back. The 3 of spades, that somehow that moment sells. Okay. Was that it? And they'll say no, and I'll go, oh, okay, sorry. And it'll get this big laugh, and I'll always say, well, you can't do it either. And that like downbeat of you can't do it either is a nice reset when I come back and say, I said I'd find it with one hand. I just didn't say which, and it's behind the back. And I mean, you'll remember from the performance, if you watch it, it's like the biggest reaction. I used to do this where I would palm the card, and I would do this thing and say, find it with one hand. And I would reach down and I would unzip my pants like this and reach inside and take the card from there. And you can do that too. I mean, in a comedy club environment, I did my show in Nashville at the House of Cards, and that really like killed. And I've got some funny lines for you too, which with if you want to do this, but it's the exact same. You're going to just palm the card and then come down, and with the card palmed, you've still got all this, dexterity. Unzip your pants, and it's in there the whole time. You really can't tell. Reach in, ditch the card in there, and then come out with just your fingers and pull it out, and then turn it over. And it will get a big laugh. And what's funny is if it's a card like, if you do that out of your fly, if it's a 3, say, I know that was a 3, but if anyone asks, would you mind telling them it was a 7? Like that kind of, that joke, which is a bit puerile, but because it's about the cards, it's kind of a weird mix of it'll get such a big laugh because they know what it means, but it's almost like you didn't say it. And then sometimes I'll put the card back and I'll reach and I'll take it out again and I'll say, look at that, twice in a row. Usually I have to wait at least 10 minutes for that. And they're the kind of jokes that I'll do in that situation. And they always bring some big laughs. But I stopped doing that. And the reason that I stopped doing that is that at Christmas, I did this variety show in England called the Chroma Pier Christmas Show, and it ran for Chroma Pier. It's a place in England. It ran for these 2 months, and I was in it every day, and it was a family show. And the first ever show, I pulled the card out of my fly, and it got this big laugh. And the director was like, I'm not really keen about that bit where it comes out the fly, because we have these matinee shows, and there's a lot of kids. And the absolute worst thing that can happen, of course, is that when you're having the card selected, you forget that the third card to be selected is going to be the one that comes out of your fly, and you're mixing it up, and you have a kid pick that card, and then you say to the kid, what was your card? And they tell you, you pull it out, it's like, oh, it's the worst moment ever. And I've done it, it's terrible, because I thought in the moment I couldn't think of a different way to reveal it, and I pulled it out of there, and everyone laughs, but in your head you think, oh God, that was not my favorite part of the show. So you've got to, if you're going to do that, you've got to remember who picks that card in order so that you always have the right revelation for the right person. So instead, it's easy to just ditch it. And trust me, this thing of standing like this and failing and then turning around, that is a much nicer image. And I promise, putting the joke of pulling it out of your fly aside, it will get a much better reaction. So the thing that I had to do in the family show to get away from a potentially, awkward moment actually has ended up being so much better. It's like a great moment, and I'll never lose it now. Even in close-up magic, if I'm going to find a card, I'll always make sure that this is one of the ways I do it, because it's a really fun thing. And that thing of spinning around, and it's like, it's good. One thing I will say is when you reveal the card, when it's behind your back, of course it's palmed, don't do this, because you might as well just give them the method. That's no good. Like while it's behind your back, as soon as you get to this point, do this. Yeah, and then turn around that way.
It reminds me of my favorite card joke, and you're going to love it.
Okay.
And I'll just do it for you.
Please do.
Because this is another way to find a card with one hand. I just have to do this because you said don't show that it's palmed, but this is my favorite. So I'm going to find your card with one hand. What do you know the name of your card?
3 of spades.
I'm sorry, what was it?
Oh, that's funny though.
So that's what I used to do all the time at the bar.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good joke, and the thing with the joke is it'll be what happened will be easly forgotten.
Yeah.
If you're pinning a single silent moment in a thing, on this, that's like quite a memorable image. It's better this way for that. But that is a funny joke. What I will say is, well, that reminds me of this tip that. Russ Stevens gave me once, if you guys know Russ, about, when you do this back palm thing, if you start like this and then you back palm the card, that's like showing him what's happening, When you're doing it like the way the Cardini used to do it was like this. It started like that and then it went. And also when you produce the card like that, again, is like telling him what's happening. But that, bringing it out that way, it looks different because the orientation changes as the card vanishes or reappears. So it makes it better. And it's the same with the thing with the palming the card. Having it palmed and doing that makes it more impossible as well about how it got there. So you get that nice moment. So that's how I do it. As far as palming goes, there is honestly nothing I can really tell you here that will make you able to palm a card other than you trying to do it and practicing a lot. All the positioning and things that happen, I've seen it explained a million times, and the truth is, it is different for everyone because everyone's hand is different. All you can do is sit down and just grind it out. But the basics of it are that you are holding the deck, the thumb's coming behind here, all of the fingers are coming up over the top, and it is almost exactly in line with the top of the deck there. And then you're just going to use this finger, it's just going to squeeze and push the card up into the palm like that. I mean, it's a really hard thing to there's a bit of a rotation, there's a bit of tension, but effectively this finger is going to push and it will start the pivot, and then the more you push, it'll just move up into the palm and it'll get right. I mean, you'll find that at first this will happen and it won't go all the way, or a million things will go wrong. But ultimately, just keep going, put that finger there, squeeze the deck, and it'll move into the palm. And then, for me, once you've done that, move this across so that you're not in that same, thing. So palm the card and then hold it here. Then take the deck away, let the hand fall. Again, it's natural. And then go into this moment and make a big deal of the 3 of spades. Okay. Oh, sorry. Well, you can't do it either. Ha, ha, ha. Reveal the card there, then turn back around with this. That's such a nice, it's like that visual, that ballet thing of having it like that and then putting it back in the deck. So there we are. Now we're in a situation where there's only 2 cards left to find. The third one is going to be in that jar. So here we are with the final 2. What you're going to do, you have to reorient these because otherwise they're going to come out in the wrong order. The way I do it, I mean, you can find your own way or you can just produce them in the wrong order, whatever you like. I just do it's a quick second deal. So we'll get this from above. My second is like, it's not exactly going to fool anyone in Vegas, but I just pull this to the side here and I take the card out of there and I put it back on the top. And I just do it while I'm talking. So that's it, I did it. I think I got a third then. So let's put this here like that so it'll show me. So I do that and I put it back on the top. There's no pressure on it. It's not a big moment. Like I just found the card. I put it back in. The audience are not yet expecting anything. It's in that reset moment. So all that's going to happen is you push across there and then your thumb comes in. It takes the card out of here and it puts it back like that. But again, it's in that brief moment. I just do this. I put it back and I'm ready to go. So the 2 cards should be in this order with the 2 uppermost and the ace on the bottom, or whatever order they are. This will be the last card. This will be the. Hang on, let me think. This will be the. Yeah, you need the next card to be this one, and they're going to be in the wrong order, aren't they? Is that right, Dan?
I don't recall.
I don't know what the hell's going on. All I know is that you have to, at this point, second deal and put it back down. Yeah, that's right. Because what's going to happen, that's right, I've just remembered. So the last card is here, lowermost, of course. The next card is on top like that. So what you're going to do is you're going to second deal and reorder them.
That's right, yeah.
And then what I'm going to do is peel this down to the bottom and hold a break because I'm about to ditch the deck. So I'm holding that break and I'm going to palm the card just like before. So the situation is I've got this card palmed and I've got a break here. And all that's going to happen is I'll say, what was the next card? And as they tell me, I'll do this, and I'll reach down if we can have full frame. I'll reach down and like I kicked it from my shoe. Okay, so that's the palm card coming into view. So I'll go over all of this bit again because we got a bit confused. But I'll kick that into view, and as I do that, at the same time, I show this, and now I've ditched the deck. So all I've got left here is 1 card, masquerading as the deck. So that's how we get into this. Let's go back, and I'll show you again. So the last person's card is, of course, lowermost. The card that you should be about to find is on top. We're going to second deal and then peel it down to the bottom and keep a break, which is easier than it looks. Then we're going to top palm the card and ask the next person what it was. And at this point, I come down, I kick the shoe, and I bring the card into reveal. And at the same time as I come here, I ditch the deck. Now let's go over that. So that's that card found. We can get rid of that for now. I got this break. And all that's going to happen is I'm going to go to the pocket, and because I've got this break, it's really easy to just ditch everything in there except for this one. And as I come back out, I'm just going to hold it like this as if it's the deck. So keep that break, ditch everything. Let's do it one more time. So remember, this has been peeled from the top, and I'm holding it in my hand, and I'm not adding it back to the deck. I'm keeping my fingers closed enough that the deck goes on top, but it never goes back in touch with the card. So now all I've got to do is come to the pocket and ditch everything except for that card that was still there. Okay, and now I bring it out and I hold it like this as if it's the full deck. So that's what I've got. And I'm obviously, for the audience, I'm keeping this angle so they can't see anything. So I found that card on the shoe, boom, I just put that away in this pocket, and I said, watch the whole deck. Boom, like that. And now we're left with one card. I bring it up, show it. Ta-da, there it is, the final card. And I make a big deal, like, so I found all the cards. Thank you, there'll be a nice applause break there. And then they'll remember the last guy, and I go, are you still here? And I give that guy some stick, because he put it in, so I can be annoyed with him again. That he's like, oh, you're the one who messed it up, you're still here, why don't you just leave? You know, I made some jokes last night about the dude. And I say, ask me where your card is. And now he'll say, where's my card? And I say, how long's a piece of string? And it's just like that. They know already. They don't need you to do it. They know. At this point, I'm going to pick the jar up, get the end, put it through the hole, and I'll explain to them why I'm doing that so I don't have to touch this. They take hold of the end of the string. And of course, what's going to happen now is, Dan, if you wouldn't mind. What's going to happen
I'm quite
now?
good at this because
remember the joke from last night?
Because I do the. What was the joke from last night?
I say to the guy, "Come on, pull! If you were a teenage boy, we'd be finished by now."
Yeah, I do the coin and ball of wool. So,
okay. So this is being unwrapped, and that is such. Like, that whole thing is such a nice image. That thing spinning around inside of that jar and you holding it is such a nice visual thing happening. You've got that byplay with the guy. Again, someone else from the audience is helping out, but they're not on the stage. They're directly linked to me. I mean, they couldn't be more linked because of the string and everything. But again, I'm here up on my own, but I'm playing with the audience. And I think sometimes when you bring people up from the audience to be on the stage with you, it can become a play rather than a, magic performed out front should be a conversation rather than a monologue. And so everybody's involved. But sometimes when you get a person on stage, unless you're very, very, very practiced at it, like nobody does this better than Mac King, he had someone on stage but the whole audience still feel involved. I myself have found that in the past, I make the mistake of forgetting about the audience and I turn it into a play with this person. It becomes such a conversation with them that they get left out. So for me now, taking my own deficiencies into play and using them to my advantage, I keep those audience members out in the audience, so I'm always playing out front, and I'm still keeping them involved and using them, but I'm not bringing them up on stage. So this is what happens with this guy. He pulls the string, and now I can say, and I'm never touching it, that's important. Look, we have this little egg, and I lean out to that person, and I ask them to take the egg out, and they do. This egg, by the way, you probably recognized it already. Thank you, Dan. Mm-hmm. This is from a Kinder Egg. You have that here as well, don't you?
Yes.
The Kinder chocolate, yeah. And it usually has a little toy inside. You didn't have them here for years. They
tried to get rid of them as a choking hazard.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
Because the toy was too small, not the egg.
Because the toy, you could choke on the toy. We had these these are one of the most popular things in England, so everyone recognizes this egg. But yeah, that comes out and I say, oh, look, it's the thing from a Kinder Egg. The audience member will open it up for me, and now, because I want to control the reveal, I'll say, hand me the card. But I'm always very careful that I take it at my fingertips, and I'm back in front of the audience before I do any of the work. And then I open this up and ask them, what was the card again? They tell me, and now, boom, that's the 5 of hearts. Now, that is an impossible location of a card that is not signed, which immediately, you think, oh, that's crazy. If it's going to be in that place, it's got to be signed. That would make no sense. Imagine if that person chose a card in a multiple selection. In plenty of other routines it makes sense. But in a multiple selection routine, to have that person choose a card, very fairly it seems, and say, could you just sign your name on that? And now you take one, and you take one, and you take one, and you sign your name on it, and all of that stuff. That would take forever to have everybody sign it. So that's out of play. To only have one person sign it is super weird. So having no person sign it, but then it go in and seem impossible, and then be a callback to a trick you did earlier, and all of these things, that audience last night, I promise, because I spoke to them on the way out of the theatre, and I spoke to the audience a million times before, they really believe that this is the card that guy chose. Because you already did a million great things. A lemon and an orange appeared under the deck. All this other great stuff happened. So why wouldn't it be the card? I really believe that phrase of there's no need to run when you're not being chased. But I also think that's no excuse to stand still. But in this case, that is not standing still. Because it makes sense, it doesn't need to be signed. However, having said that, if you do want to have it signed, that's absolutely possible, of course. You could have everybody sign them. You could take 7 pens out. They could all be signed. Every card that's found is signed. It's a bit overkill. You're going to ruin a deck every time because it's 7 cards in my case. And of course, you could then have the card folded up, and you could just, you could do a Mercury card fold, and at the end when it comes out and the woman gives it to you, you could switch it very easily. That would be no problem at all. There's a million ways you could get to that and still, have the killer ending. But for me, I've never had it signed. It's never been a problem. I've had the card be in my shoe, loads of other different places at the end of multiple selection, and it not be signed, and it's always absolutely fine. So don't worry about that.
Yeah, I think as the ending of a multiple selection, just like you're saying, man, you've established the believability of being able to do anything. They're not going to question that last card.
Yeah, they think you can do that. Why can't you do this?
It's not going to gain you anything with a signature in this case.
That's exactly it. My friend Tom Peterson has a really cool trick which uses one of these, which is a borrowed ring, ends up inside of this. And I would encourage you, it's the greatest switch. There's you won't mind me saying because we're dear friends, but there's a ring inside of there which is a fake, and it's sewn inside so it can't fall out. And he's vanished the ring and all of this stuff, and he has it finger palmed. And he'll say to someone, is there a ring inside of there? They'll say yes, and he'll go, and is it your ring? And then the ring is found in there. So if you want to finish this string theory trick and then someone's ring vanishes and it ends up being inside of there, you can do that. You can do it with money. I mean, if you're going to do the string theory trick, using that as a impossible location for something else absolutely is the perfect thing to do. There's a million ways you could do that. If you had someone sign a quarter and then you got a quarter so that it had a tiny little hole in, so you could put some fishing line through and sew that into the bottom like that. So there's a quarter in there, and you could vanish in it at the end. It unfurls, and can you see the quarter? And does it have your signature? It's the exact same thing. There's a million things you could do. Anything that you can fit inside of that. And by the way, I would recommend you use this, because if you just try to wrap the string around the item, it's a nightmare. And it's so long because you have to build for ages before you actually get the shape of a ball. So if you use something like this, it just takes a second and you don't need nearly as much string. So it's much better that way. So yeah, get these, go and buy a Kinder Egg and put stuff inside and find out what you like and use it as the ending of that trick. And with almost no props at all, if you're going to do a borrowed ring vanish and that, I mean, that's a killer little act with hardly any props. So that I would recommend that too. There's a million things you can put in there. So that is the multiple selection. That is the end of the multiple selection. That is the tie-up of how string theory works. And that is the end of the first act. Now we're going to talk about the second act, which I'm happy to tell you will not take as long to explain, because the tricks themselves are a little bit simpler. They use fewer props, and they're just based on simple ideas, which I really enjoy. So let's get started with the first one. It is called Word Box, and it is my blindfolded book test. Now, the props, again, are very simple. You need a book and a blindfold, nothing else. Well, with one exception. I have the string, this thick red string that I really like, which helped me get out to the audience last night. So Dan was kind enough to put a little loop on here, and he hooked it over the stool. Usually when I have my 2 stools in my show, I just tie it to one and I take it right out of the wings, and I use that to come out, or any way that I can come in. If it's a conference room door or anywhere, it's a really funny way to come in. And I stand outside putting the blindfold on. I wait to be introduced, and I come on in. I came up with this last year to open my show at the Magic Castle. I was performing in the Lake Parlour, and all of my tricks in that show were themed around movies. And it was February, and Bird Box had just come out on Netflix in January, so everybody was talking about it. Of course, the Magic Castle is in LA. It's a big movie-centric place, so I thought I'm going to theme my whole show around movies. I, crowbarred a couple of the things I was already doing into the movie theme, and I came up with this on top. That's how it came about. The actual book test method I used for a different book test last time I did my Penguin Live lecture, but I'll go over it again for you so you can see how that evolved to become this. So that's the string. That's how I get out on stage. Doesn't need any explanation because you just saw it in the show. The blindfold, the first thing to say is it was very easily made. You cut the right amount of fabric, but it needs to be double-sided, 2 pieces. If you just get a single piece and then you write on it, you'll be able to see it through the other side. So you can see this was folded in half. It was really ironed thickly so that it kept the crease, and then the other side was sewn. There's a million places to get that done, but yeah, get it all sewn up so that it's nice, and that is your blindfold made, okay? So I have that ready to go, and I tie that up around my eyes. I tie it so that I can get a peek, but I'll come back to that when I've explained why I need a peek. What I really like about this is that, firstly, I picked that colour blue because it's the same as on the book. You know, it's a nice match there. So there's that symmetry. If I pick the book up and I show it to the audience, and I'm so tempted to close my eyes right now because
you do that when you're blindfolded.
I do it when I'm blindfolded. Yeah,
when you don't need a peek. Yeah,
because the best way to look like you're really wearing a blindfold is to close your eyes underneath it, because then you don't. You know, if you're walking and there's something on the floor and you step around it and you've got a blindfold on, the audience are going to laugh for all the wrong reasons, because they know you can see. I'd rather fall on my ass than have the whole audience know that I can really see. So I close my eyes for every second that I don't need to have to be able to see underneath the things. It's funny, as I went to pick that up, muscle memory told me to close my eyes. So yeah, eyes closed underneath the blindfold at all times. This is how it works. You can make this with any book. That's what's really cool about it. The first word that they remember, that is a peak. Genuinely, they can pick any word. The second word is a force. The third word is a peak. Genuinely, they can pick any word. This is how it works. So let's get this angle. At the same time as they are reading the word, I am reading it on the opposite corner. So every word which is printed here on this side that they can see is written there on the other side with a pencil, so it doesn't show through. So them. Oh, there's a star there. That's glad that happened, because there's no word there. It's the beginning of a chapter, or it's a blank page. I even tell them, if you can't see a word, just let me know and you can change your mind. I point that out early doors, because that does sometimes happen. So that's why there's a star, so I know. 3. You know, every word that's written here, the is printed on the opposite page. So I'm holding the book backwards, of course. So
and that's the original Larry Becker's flashback.
That's right, yeah, Larry Becker's flashback. When I thought of this years ago, I was using a Harry Potter book. I'd never actually seen flashback. I was doing this book test, which was impromptu, where the page number was printed in the top corner, and so I would have them remember the word, and I would just peek the page, and then I would close it up and I would say, look, you could pick any word from this book. And as I would look through, I would casually catch the page number, peek the word, and then keep going. That was like the impromptu thing that I just came up with, like before I was even really a magician, when I was first getting into it and I was messing with this thing. And then I thought, well, what if the word was written there? And then I did it, and I did it in lectures for God, maybe 4 or 5 years, and one day someone came up to me and said, you know, it's just like flashback. And I thought, I never knew. And then I got flashback and I thought, this is great. In flashback, though, it's printed, right?
Well, yeah, he first did it this way, where you could make it, that's the way he printed, he wrote it up.
Okay.
He wrote it up that you could make your own. And people were like, I don't want to go through a whole book and write on it.
Yeah.
And then they mass-produced the...
It's a shame, because it doesn't take long.
No, I know.
It's worth, you just make your own.
Most magicians don't commit to the material.
They don't like to make, yeah. Well, the printed one that they make that you can buy, whatever word is printed here is also printed as the last word. So the last word on this line is also the first word on this line, so there's no printing at all. But honestly, one of the big failings for me with book tests is, if you're going to do mother of all book tests, the thing that's wrong with that trick is that usually you never heard of the book. Or if you're going to do, any book test, not necessarily to single that one out, because I think they made an edition now which has got, it's like Da Vinci Code or something.
Yeah, they have made some nice ones that,
yeah,
that you
the
can
original.
actually recognize.
Yeah, because that was always the big failing of those kind of book tests. If you never heard of the book, I mean, books now are such a, they enter pop culture through the internet and reviews and things that people read and talk about, that if there's a huge book at the minute, like the best example, if somebody was doing a book test 5 years ago and they weren't using 50 Shades of Grey, that to me seems crazy. Or 8 years ago or 10 years ago, if you weren't using Da Vinci Code or whatever. Every time that a book comes out and is like the most famous, biggest thing anyone's ever heard of, that's the book you got to be doing the book test with. And if you use this method, just go and buy it from Barnes & Noble or Waterstones or whichever country you're in and make it. It takes 20 minutes. It's as topical as it can be. So this is how I made this one. If you want more information on that, though, and I've got loads of ideas about how a book test, if you have a pile of them, can tie together jokes about different topics and stuff, go